Okay, so a bit of background. I'm a 24-year-old male from Greece. I have studied geology, and my dream was to go on even further by completing a master's degree, which would help me in my future job hunt. Unfortunately, I come from a relatively poor family, and although I never had to skip a meal due to poverty, the fees of my master's program were already way above budget. Luckily enough, my cousins live and works in Germany, so I had the chance to move in with her, find a temporary job, and later I could return to continue my studies. Everything went well, and in just a short period of time, I managed to find a job in a factory located just outside the small town near Stuttgart. The factory made various metal parts, which were later bought by the many car manufacturing companies of Germany. It was an easy job, with a relatively good salary, and to be honest, I started liking it once I got the hang of it. But it was still not enough. I calculated that I would need 14 months to save up just enough. I didn't want to miss the next academic year and also to feel like a burden for my cousin, since I lived in her house free of charge. However, I knew that the night shift had a considerably higher amount of earnings, and if I found a way to only work during the night, I would collect the money I needed much faster. Once I was familiar enough with the job, my higher-ups allowed me to try the shift. It was awesome, and not just because of the money. The night shift was so much more relaxed and easygoing. No bosses, no office people checking out to see if you were competent in our jobs. No rush. We were going out on breaks more often and we would make them last longer. I even got to drive the company's forklift, something normally strictly forbidden, as I had no license. It's not my fault that my boss doesn't pay for the forklift driver for the night. I mean, I had to do my job. Part of the job was throwing out the scraps of metals that were falling as the machines were cutting and forming the iron tiles. By the end of the shift, they had to be taken out and thrown away, and the large containers located a few meters away. I kinda liked this bit. It was a chance for me to get away from the noisy factory, to calm my head, and if the weather allowed it, admire the starry sky. That night, I was doing just that. It was around 5 a.m., and the sun wouldn't rise for at least 2 more hours. I took a trolley, I loaded it up with my trash, and I started heading uphill to throw the stuff away. But that night, something was different. It felt silent. Too silent. The chills in your every bone kind of silent. Never mind, I thought. Let's keep moving. I don't want to freeze out here. As I was approaching the containers, I heard the rattling of metal coming from inside one of them. Must be a cat, I thought to myself, though I shut down the little voice in my head asking me, why would a cat stay inside a trash bin full of nothing but sharp iron pieces? But as I approached the containers, I saw something. 2 yellow lights, not moving at all, seemingly fixed on me. I focused more and I saw that the lights were inside the container, and they looked like eyes, but without any pupil. I wasn't wrong. The lights blinked slowly, and then they were back on me. I was completely frozen in my tracks. Somewhere deep inside of me, I felt the need to run, but in the end, I was stuck there, like a small critter before its predator, too scared to run away. After a while, the eyes turned to the side and my consciousness took control once more. I slowly turned around and I headed back towards the well-lit hallway, feeling more creeped out than I had ever felt in my life. Bang! I heard behind me. It felt almost like an explosion, followed by the awful sound of thousands of metal parts falling down on each other. This time, my fight-or-flight instinct worked, hard stuck on flight. I ran with everything I had, and I didn't even dare to look behind me once. While running, I remember trying to convince myself that it was just a cat, and I was just a coward. But these eyes, these terrible eyes that had no pupils, were too far apart from each other to belong to as small of a creature as a cat. I couldn't tell my colleagues, of course. They wouldn't believe me anyway, or they would just say that I was imagining stuff. As the sun rose, I managed to go home and to sleep my fear away. The next night, I went to work and I found the factory crowded with police cars and cops. They didn't want to tell us workers what had happened, but you know, everything is gossiped around somehow in the end. They had found a severed hand. The hand belonged to Mahit, a Syrian worker who also worked night shift. I felt terrible. Mahit was very friendly to everyone, a smiling old guy waiting patiently to become a pensioner. He and I would drink coffee sometimes together during the long breaks while we worked. His found arm had strange bite marks all over it, and the police couldn't identify any creature they could belong to, human or beast. Nothing more of his body was ever recovered. But what made my heart stop was what my manager told me next. The hand was found in a large container for metal scraps, the one that I had run away from last night. I saw the creature that night too. I had the eerie feeling that I was being watched, so I lifted my eyes towards the window, only to meet these yellow eyes locked on me. The thing was looking at me. It stared right into my eyes. Wherever I moved, the eyes followed me, and when I felt it was a light motion of its head, if it even had one. You see, it would never let me look at it. I could feel that it wanted me to know that it was present, but it was always hidden in the dark, staring at me with these hellish eyes. That started to happen every night. The creature would always stalk me, but would stay right out of my sight, allowing me to only see a shadow of its body. I tried to tell people about this, but they just thought that I was burning out because of only working the night shifts. I couldn't concentrate anymore. I did mistakes in my job, broke expensive tools, and almost cost the life of one of my colleagues in what would have been a horrible accident. I got fired after that. I didn't say the truth to my cousin from fear of disappointing her. I just told her that I needed some vacation, and so I booked the earliest flight back home, and I lied to her about returning soon. In the plane, I tried to understand what was going on, and why the creature was behaving like that. I knew that it wouldn't attack me during the day, since I never saw it in the daylight, and that I was safe, as long as I was close to lights and other people. But then, why did it keep haunting me? The moment I had a flashback to when I was playing with my dog. My small Yorkshire Terrier loved to steal my tennis ball and run all over the house while I chased it. When I cornered it somewhere tight, I would gently pinch and snap the ball while it was still in its mouth. The angry growls of my small yet brave Yorkie were so funny that I almost bursted in laughter, allowing it to run away and start the game once more. And so this thing was toying with me, I guess. This moment, I felt an uneasiness that I had never felt before in my life. Somehow I knew that the creature had followed me. I was just certain. It probably had a way to make me feel this way, and what I can only explain as it bonding with me in a kind of twisted and sick game. After all, wouldn't it have just another laugh at me, for the few moments that I felt secure during this plane trip. I was back home. I started spending my nights outside partying, clubbing. Not that I enjoyed the lifestyle, but it was my way of being around people during the nighttime. Luckily, Athens is known for its nightlife, and there is always a club, which will remain open until dawn. In a club like this, I found a job as a waiter, hoping that it would be enough to keep me safe. I guess I was born to work only for the night shift, I joked to myself. Of course, my mom was infuriated with the career that I chose, and me throwing all of my old dreams out the window. But she would never understand that this was my only hope to survive. Every evening, I would go to the club before sunset, just in time to see the lights opening to welcome the first clients. What the others couldn't notice were the 2 yellow lights just outside reach, which seemed to be lit up automatically every night. When the party started, it would always be the same. The creature would be there, watching my every move. Its demon eyes followed my every move, never looking at anyone else but me. I felt like it had no other purpose in life but to make me suffer, to suck the last drop of willingness to live out of my exhausted body, leaving nothing but a hollowed piece of skin and bone, where once was a full person of dreams and hope. I would return home feeling like I would collapse, too paranoid to stop looking behind my back, even though I knew it was well after dawn. Yesterday was my day off. I hate this day. I feel like I need to find another way to escape this nightmare every time. This time, I did the worst mistake. I took my beloved niece for a walk of the city. She's only 15 years old and looks at me like a father that she never got to meet. Of course, I took it upon myself to show her the nightlife of our city, and walk her around listening to her teenage problems and giving her advice. Everything was going well until there was a blackout in the area. All the lights instantly turned off, and at that same moment, I saw that right before me was the thing I had so long escaped from. No one else seemed to notice its gaze during the short confusion that ensued. My niece was just a few steps away from buying ice cream with the money that I had just given her. For the first time since that fateful night, the creature moved his eyes away from me. It slowly turned to its side and its eyes stopped upon my niece. She saw it too. Terrified, she ran towards me as she could still make out my figure. While she was running, I turned to look at my stalker. It was not looking back at me, and for the first time, it was smiling. A terrifying foul mouth, way too long to be human, with teeth overstacked, leaving almost no gaps in between them. I saw an amalgamation of different types of teeth, human-like, dog-like, and others that I don't even dare to specify. This only lasted for a moment. The emergency backup generators kicked in, giving some light in the previously dark area. The monster was no longer there when I looked. My niece asked me what it was, but I couldn't speak as I was too shocked. Why had it looked at her like that? Like it was looking at me. And that smile. That devilish smirk once it had locked eyes with the kid that I loved so much. I am here now typing this. I left a message for my niece explaining what was haunting me as best as I could. I feel like I won't have another chance to do so. Today the city mayor warned that tests would be run all over the city to see what caused the big blackout, and that several areas of Athens would be out of power for many hours in a controlled power cut to identify where exactly the damage was. Of course, they warned me from the club that we wouldn't be open today due to the power cuts. I tried to see if other places would be open, but everybody told me that for the safety of their clients, it would be best to not work today. It feels like the city will be dark in its entirety for the entire night. I guess the demon that is after me finally found the right time, and I can only hope that it hasn't gotten bored of his sick game yet. I don't. I am too scared to die. I started typing this in the afternoon after I locked myself home. My mom is on holiday and I wouldn't want to be near my poor niece at this state, for her own good. I've never felt so alone and scared in my entire life. In the last shades of twilight, I saw the being's eyes glowing once more. First, across the street and slowly moving towards my home. As darkness covered everything, it stopped right outside of my window, watching me typing as fast as I could. Now the eyes are gone. I can only hear a thumping coming from my roof. God, I'm so scared. I equipped myself with the largest kitchen knife that I could find in my house, since I have no access to guns. I doubt that it will even be helpful. The thumping has stopped. What I hear now is footsteps. It's inside the house. Please, if you're reading this, save my niece. I beg you. She is too young to protect herself. Please help her. Her address is number 5, and her street name is